and welcome to another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Hi, I'm Larry.
Hi, I'm Jesi.
I'm Kaila.
And I'm Josh. And today we are going to be going over a short story that appeared first in the Iowa Review, and then in the Best American Short Stories of 2018, which the series itself is edited by Heidi Pittler. Roxanne Gay was the guest editor. The particular short story we will be discussing is Cougar by Maria Anderson. And the discussion starter I have for this is, Cougar has to do with a young man who was abandoned by his parents. His mother abandoned him when he was about 2, and his father abandoned him at the beginning of the story, where he is in high school, and he loses his dog and his livelihood to circumstance and to a cougar living in the woods throughout this piece. My discussion starter is, what do you believe this short story has to say about humanity and about other animals, such as cougars?
I thought the dad died, so...
Well, it wasn't really made clear.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, it's strange for somebody to disappear without taking their wallet or leaving the keys in the ignition. Didn't take his guns with him, didn't take anything with him, just
It
vanished.
kind of reminded me how, like, when the dog goes off to die.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of thought, okay, he went off to die.
Yeah.
That would happen with the dog, though. Coda. We have the greater assumption that he was attacked by the cougar. The
Yeah,
dad,
but,
we don't know so much.
no, but that's what it made me think of. Like, even before I got through the story, I was like, okay, the dad went off to die, like, almost like a
like
dog
a cat,
would.
like an
Or a
outdoor cat just kind of disappears when it's done.
And just goes off and dies. That being said, when Coda died, I also kind of felt like, because Coda was in the house, and then Coda wasn't.
Yeah.
Coda went out.
Well, he did
So I
the
think
same thing.
Coda went
He
off to die, and
from
then
his
Cougar
injuries,
just
yeah.
happened to get him.
No,
to-
he got attacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he brought him back inside, and then...
Well, no, he got attacked, and then,
Yeah.
you know, he accidentally shot him in the injuries, but, like, the second time Coda went out, I think he went out to
Yes,
die.
yes, me too.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. But there's also terrible things that happen, such as Cal is the... At first I thought it was a female.
That's what I thought, and I had to
Central
write
character.
boy here.
But it was, it turned out being, because Cal could be short for any, it's gender fluid in that way. But when I was looking over notes online, it said that the central character was male, and Jenny is the Cherokee landlord that he's a tenant for Cal, and Cal's no longer able to afford to live there. But it's just quite something how everything starts to fall. He starts working at a Korean restaurant, but because
Chinese restaurant.
Chinese
Owned by
restaurant owned by Koreans.
Chinese restaurant owned by, because Chinese restaurant owned by Koreans because they wanted to give people what they wanted.
Yes.
Right.
Which
And
wasn't
people
Korean.
didn't want Korean
No,
food.
they wanted the Chinese food, like they wanted the egg rolls and the
Orange
fortune
chicken.
Yeah,
The
orange chicken.
MSG.
The fortune cookies that
sweet,
are
sweet MSG.
sweet American made.
We Americans can't get enough of that MSG.
But they end up. He loses his job there because the son lost his job somewhere else, and to them,
Paper out.
he aged out of the paper route.
Yeah.
And family takes priority among them. So
So even though he's a good worker who missed his work a lot, they had let him go.
mm-hmm.
So he pretended to shoot up the place and kicked over a shrine with a waving cat. I'm just saying things that happened in the story
Yeah,
because I don't know what it's about. I don't.
Yeah, I've got
It's like,
nothing on this. I just thought it was very dull.
Dismal.
Yeah.
It made me real sad.
I think that the incorporation of the Cherokee tenant, I think it says a lot about naturalism, because the cougar that's wreaking the havoc in Cal's life, the cougar is just doing what it needs to do in order to live. A character who is Cherokee they have that train of thought that all living beings are equals. So the cougar's ambitions are pretty much just as relevant in its own way to the human.
I mean, it pretty much aligns almost identically with Cal's. Is that like Cal does nothing but survive in this? Like there's literally the bare minimum he does is get through the day.
Yeah, and that's what the cougar is primarily doing, is surviving. Only the cougar has a greater grasp of its situation.
Right.
I feel like the landlord should have told Cal maybe sooner that he was feeding a cougar. I don't know if y'all kind of caught on to that, but near the end he's like, oh yeah, I've been feeding this cougar because the cougar's hungry. But I also remember, like, don't feed the animals because then they become dependent on you. And I feel like if he wasn't feeding the cougar, chances are the cougar probably wouldn't have attacked his dog.
But then again,
he was coming to get free food, saw the dog, probably took it as a threat, attacked, probably didn't have any plan of eating the dog because he was getting a free meal over here that he didn't have to work
Not
for.
always the case, because if, for instance, the Canadian geese, if we don't feed them food, they're going to take the food from our geese. So I mean, geese versus a mountain lion. Like, there's plenty of deer in Montana. There's plenty of things for it to eat, but instead it's eating out of the backyard of this landlord whose neighbor or a tenant owns a dog. Like, I don't know. It would just be like, oh, here, tiger, come eat near my house cat. And just, like, expect the tiger not to attack the house. I don't know. I just thought it was a little inconsiderate. To just be like, oh yeah, your dog died. Well, I was feeding that cougar, so...
That actually didn't strike me at all. What I got from that was more just because, like, Jenny was dying, clearly, and he felt bad for this cougar, because I got the impression that the cougar was also struggling to find food.
Yeah, I didn't.
I don't know. I didn't even like that either, though. He's like, keep feeding the cougar for me.
The cougar,
it's like, this kid's got to get out of there. He's got to get his life together. Like you were telling him earlier. Now you're telling him, keep feeding the cougar for me.
Cougar to me didn't seem like he was in he was in somewhat of a bind of a situation, but not too bad. He seemed to just be more in control, which in some ways is ironic, but if you look at it from the greater picture, then perhaps not.
I mean, you look at, so if you've ever seen those, like, documentaries of, like, the polar bears starving and dying, and I know I wasn't the only one screaming at the TV, if they're dying and starving, feed them. Well, they can't, because then it just prolongs their suffering. So that's all this guy's doing. If the cougar was actually dying or actually starving, all it's doing is prolonging the suffering, because now if Jenny dies and this kid moves out, that cougar's still going hungry. Instead of taking care of itself, it's looking for the handout.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
Yeah, Jenny's not doing too well.
Yeah, exactly. So Jenny, not Jenny, but even Cal can't feed himself. How is he supposed to feed
Cal's
like
not.
He said, like, he's stealing food from Walmart.
If Cal gets things together, he's not going to be in that area. He's not going to be there for long. He's going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right. That too, and the story is based in Montana. I don't know if you've seen Montana. There's, like, a lot of wildlife and areas there where, like, people more or less live among the wildlife as opposed to the wildlife living around the people. So it's like, the cougar...
is probably fine.
Yeah. I really think the cougar is probably fine.
Maria Anderson was inspired to write this upon visiting. She said she wanted to write a piece about Bonner, Montana. So she's looking at this more from the interested spectator that is looking to learn more, as opposed to...
Which is fair, but I mean, animals have better instincts, or at least in this story, the animal probably has a lot better instinct than humans right now.
Yeah, in this case, yes.
So
But we do put a lot onto ourselves.
Yeah.
They're merely about survival. We're not necessarily merely about survival. We have other things that we want to accomplish in our lives.
But, I mean, there's still, you have, Cal, who's lost his dad, whether he was abandoned or the dad died, whatever. But, he's got enough on his plate to really deal with. He lost his dog to this cougar that his neighbor didn't even tell him, hey, I'm feeding the cougar. I don't know. I just thought it as, like, so inconsiderate that, I mean, it's a wild animal. It's gonna go after a pet. No problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that was the only part that really, like, it was sad when Coda died, and especially when Cal found Coda's body. That was sad, but I think the only thing that I kind of felt even remotely emotional about was like, dude, you fed a cougar?
See, and that didn't even strike me. Like, I wouldn't even have noticed that.
Yeah, I don't know. That was the only thing about this that, like, bothered me, and I can't even say, like, that I even got anything from this other than, like, wow, your neighbor and tenant, landlord, whatever, is horribly inconsiderate. Like, at least tell him, hey, by the way, I'm feeding a cougar next to your house. Like, keep your dog inside. You know, like, I don't know. But
yeah, but then you might have told the other people who lost the cult to the cougar.
I don't know, maybe. But
hey,
even so, it's like. But even so, it's like now this poor kid's got nothing that's holding him on, and what's to stop him from wandering off like his dad did?
Originally, I saw the cougar as being, I saw it allegorically as a that antagonizing being that, be it the establishment or whatnot, that just won't go away. It continues to bully at the common individual, kind of like Nancy Pelosi. Just won't go away.
Just won't go away.
And the cougar just goes about doing its own thing by the end. Goes after the dog when they try to go after the cougar. He ends up accidentally hitting the dog.
Yeah, no, I was even confused why they called this Cougar, because unless I missed something in the beginning, I feel like Cougar just kind of was there at the end. It wasn't even like a big thing throughout the story, so I don't know.
I think there was like any big thing.
There was nothing big
this
throughout
was
the story.
This was honestly really boring.
Yeah,
it was a slug.
I wasn't a fan.
I didn't think it was as bad as the three of you thought. There's a lot to think about with this piece, and I think that incorporating the Cherokee tenant who sees things differently, but the point that he makes as far as the cougar having the same kind of ambitions as the human creates a sense of thinking material and gives us some food for thought. Aside from that, it was just an okay piece.
It was very.
I didn't like Jenny much.
I don't like any of them.
I mean, look, I kind of felt for Cal.
The one I liked the most was the dad, and he disappeared within the first 5 sentences.
The first page was the best. I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. I'm getting into this. And then the next, and then he was gone, and I started wiping the smile off my photos.
I was like, oh, well.
It was like, what? Why are you doing that? And then it turns out, I don't know, then those keys are here, and then it's like, okay, so where'd he go? Did he kill himself? Oh, that's what I want to think he killed himself. It's like, do you? I don't know. I mean, that's got to be tough, right? To have somebody just completely disappear out of your life like that. I mean, you can understand why he doesn't exactly know what the heck to do next.
Yeah.
Jenny doesn't help that. He's giving him bad advice.
We don't even know the background of Cal, as far as I know.
And not even like that.
Very little.
Like and again, I can agree with you where, I wouldn't know what to do next. Like, and I wouldn't expect life to be super exciting after that. And it doesn't have to necessarily be an exciting piece, but like something. There was literally nothing.
I mean, I don't know if it struck you guys the same, but it kind of struck me that Cal was like maybe not the brightest bulb.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe he just didn't know what to do because like he didn't think that anybody wouldn't be there to tell him what to do.
He was still young, and he's still in that kind of circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get the sense too that he really hadn't put much thought into it anyway, right? Because he's not even like, well, I used to think about doing this or that, but the only thing that even ever comes into his mind is to go work on the oil rig, and that's only because his friend comes to him and says, "Hey, you should come work on the oil rig."
Yeah.
So I mean, he didn't seem like he had much of a future planned out for himself anyway. Maybe he was just going to do whatever his dad told him to do.
Yeah.
But then his dad wasn't there to tell him to do anything. And then but that's tough, even if you do have a plan for your life. If someone just disappears out of your life, how long do you wait? You know, where'd he go?
Yeah, I thought it would at least be at like, okay, well, I searched for his body every day in the woods. Like, I got something. Like, what happened to the dad?
Nobody
I
searched for
think he-
Coda.
He searched for Coda.
Yeah.
He went looking for his dad. He did say that.
Yeah, but it wasn't as, like, in-depth as I thought it would be.
Yeah, you
It
don't.
was just more like, I searched for a few days and then I went and worked with these Korean people in a Chinese restaurant. And then I stole from Walmart. And then I lost my dog.
But
And,
the
I
fact,
see a cougar.
but the fact it's
Like,
yeah, it's Bonner, Montana, so it's middle of nowhere, just about where you're fortunate to have a Chinese restaurant in the vicinity and a Walmart, but no, I mean, there's no the law enforcement if they're not present, no investigation. Which-
Yeah, they had a search party, I guess, for a few days.
yeah.
Because it's just so weird to have somebody disappear like that.
Yeah. Do we have any final thoughts?
Maybe his dad was a were-cougar.
Maybe the cougar was his dad
The whole time.
coming to check up on him.
We ate the dog.
Fair point.
Yeah, it wouldn't
Maybe he
be.
really did like that dog. We tried to make some sense out of it.
That was our best effort.
Already-
So were-cougar who ate the dog.
If you're interested in reading this and other of the other best American short stories of 2018, here is a copy. And be sure to join us next time on another episode of Literary Gladiators. For now, keep reading. Hi there, this is Josh, and on the next episode of Literary Gladiators, Larry, Jesi, Dominica, and I will be discussing Black Corfu by Karen Russell, which was featured in the Best American Short Stories of 2019, edited by Heidi Pittler and guest edited by Anthony Dower. If you like what you see on this channel, please support us on Patreon, because the money that we make will allow us to provide you, the viewer, with more material. Thank you for tuning in, and for now, keep reading.